What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Hoof Podcast as we kick off a new season of the preview show, giving you the best insights into week one of around the NFL. We'll be doing our picks, got some news to talk about with Anthony. Romeo, as always, what is going on, man? Welcome to week one.
Ready to go, man. Excited. This is going to be week one is always tough because you think you know what teams are, but they haven't shown us anything yet, both before and after, right? So before week one, it's, we know what's going to happen, and all of a sudden something shocking occurs. And then going into week two, they're like, oh, that must mean this. And people jump to too many conclusions from week one. And, you got to let it play out for a while. But still the hype is there. The excitement is there. We get to see all those changes that were implemented in the offseason take shape on the respective teams. And we got some exciting picks to make, right? So
yeah,
I'm hyped.
Yeah, I'd say like week one, like right before the kickoff game is when I'm most engaged in the NFL, right? So excited,
Mm-hmm.
checking, Bleacher Report, ESPN, like all these, sports media outlets every single hour, just to see what's going on around the league. And once it kicks off, though, it seems like it kind of just flows, right? And there's always stuff to do, always stuff to talk about. But man, the anticipation for week one, the first Sunday, is always so exciting.
That's right. Then the weeks just start to fly by, and before you know it, it's playoff time. So we're going to enjoy it every step of the way, though. We're going to milk it and enjoy it and get everything out of it we can, because we know that long drought of the off season drags on, and football's here. So, back to homeostasis, if you will.
How you feeling about your fantasy teams right now?
Which one?
I know you're in like 25 leagues.
But I feel like I'm in too many this year. Yeah, the only thing I don't like about being in so many leagues is sometimes you're rooting for and against the same guy. So I do try to strategically pick certain guys that I know I'm going to try and target in each of my leagues. And I think I did pretty well at that, but I still have pretty diverse set of guys. I didn't get Josh Allen in every league, so I have Joe Burrow in some. But mostly it's those two guys as my starters. I have Kirk Cousins in another one. But I'm in, I think, 5 ESPN fantasy leagues, 1 through Yahoo, 1 dynasty league, and 1 that's on its own. So yeah, like 7 this year. Yeah, 7.
Yeah,
8.
7. That's a lot. I mean, I think the most I've ever had is 5, and that was too much for me. So I actually cut it back. I'm doing 1 guillotine league.
Mm-hmm.
Which, if you don't know what guillotine is, that's a great site. Check that out. And then 1 ESPN league. So really hyper focused, but kind of went with like the red zone running backs this year. I stole some information from you. You talked about the Jacksonville Jaguars and how easy their schedule was. I went with their defense.
There you go.
Just because 2 rookie quarterbacks in the division, right? That's 4 games right there. So trying to see how that strategy plays out, right?
Yeah, we'll see. I like the guillotine leagues, right? The lowest points every week gets kicked off. One of my leagues is doing that along with your traditional matchup. So the guillotine winner is going to get part of the pot, $200 or whatever it is, to that just whoever is that last person standing. So that's kind of a fun twist on the league. Yeah. I like that. Gives you something to fight for every week.
Yeah, that's great. It's kind of like when the Cincinnati Bills game last year and they had the DeMar Hamlin situation. A lot of leagues didn't really finish their game.
Yeah, that was tough. Yeah.
Right. So I was reading that
anticlimactic.
A lot of leagues just donated all their money to charity. I thought that was great.
That's a great way to end it. 2 of my leagues split. One of my leagues said, "Too bad, so sad. Winner is this person, loser is that person."
Yeah, that's what we did. I mean, we're not good enough to donate, but basically what we did is just the points of the points.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So unlikely we'll see another scenario like that in
the next
not. 10 years.
Jeez. Yeah, right.
Years.
Yeah,
hope not for sure. But interesting stuff. So, happy to start a new fantasy season. How about the games on Sunday? Where are you watching? What are you doing?
The Man Cave is back in order. I've updated it a lot. I've got to send you some pictures, man, because I have it's probably 3 foot by 3 foot framed autographed Josh Allen jersey in a nice custom frame with pictures and everything. Very nice addition to the Man Cave, along with my full-size Stephon Diggs autographed helmet, my mini
Okay.
helmet signed by Josh Allen, and I have a ton of mini helmets, one of every
I know you're
variety,
pretty,
if you will,
you
of the
collect a
Bills.
lot of memorabilia,
I
right? You're always
yeah,
putting
I
stuff up for
do.
sale and stuff.
Yes, yeah, I have a ton of stuff that I'm still selling. So if you know anybody,
Where do
I've
you
got
get
pretty
that
much
stuff?
one of a bunch of teams. Uh,
Because I've
out
seen you
there,
had like a jersey signed by Tua. I know you go to Miami a lot,
yeah,
so I'm
I still
assuming
have
that's where you
that.
got it.
There's a lot of like auctions and things that I use. There's a lot of apps that do it. There's communities that Facebook groups and things that do pick a division or pick a team, and then it's randomized 3 teams, and whatever the item is, whoever has that team gets picked. So a lot of them were won that way. You can win and lose a lot of money that way, but it's fun. I've definitely narrowed it back a little bit this year because I have a second kid on the way, so that's exciting, but also
Congratulations.
means you're penny pinching a little more. So yeah, but it's fun. I have tons of memorabilia, and most of it is obviously everything Bills I keep. And if I have doubles, I'll find somebody to sell it to who I know that's a Bills fan. But the rest of it, if it isn't like one of my favorite all-time players, then I probably will sell it eventually. I do have one in my personal collection that will not be sold. One autographed helmet from every team. So a mini helmet autographed,
Oh, see, that's
player
cool.
autograph from every single team in the league as
So
part of my
you're
man
really
cave
into it.
display.
So
Yeah.
would you or would you not steal a Tom Brady jersey from the locker room?
For paying off my student loans alone, absolutely, I would do that. But I would be tempted to just, set it on fire first. Maybe I'd leave a turd in its place. I don't know.
Yeah, it's careful. You get too far into that, you end up in that position. And you're like
Yeah,
driving to Mexico like that one guy, right?
yeah, that's right.
All right, let's jump into it. We got some news topics to jump on. Number one, Nick Bosa signs a new deal with the 49ers, 5 years,
Big money.
170 million. Uh, the guy has double-digit sacks the last 2 seasons. And when I say double digits, it's the upper double. 15 and a half 2 years ago, 18 and a half last season. Impact player, probably still the best defensive end in the league.
Unbelievable. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's 170 million is a lot of money. And he broke the biggest contract, which was previously Aaron Donald, by like 3 million annual, right? I think it was 31 and his is like 34, 31 something. So around 3 million annually, which I think is respectable given that, obviously as years go on, players get more money. He's earned it. You look at his total of, what was it, 18 you said last year, sacks,
Yeah,
15
18.
the year before, and he's dealt with some injuries too, and played through it and overcome it. That's like the entire Bills team had 18 sacks
Right,
last
right.
year. So I mean, one guy, that's incredible. He's certainly one of the best defensive players in the NFL, if not the best. He won the Defensive Player of the Year last year, rightfully so. So I mean, good for him getting paid. He earned it. He deserves it. This isn't just, some quarterback who's getting overpaid. This is a guy who, deserves every penny.
Right. And the team, they win or lose on defense. I know they're an offensive minded team, but they really don't have the star quarterback that can take over games. So they play great defense, very creative offense, we'll say. And that works for them. So why not go get your guy paid and
Absolutely.
so he can contribute right away,
Centerpiece.
get it out of the way. Definitely a good move to do it before week 1, in my opinion. All right, next line here. We got Joe Burrow is going to play week 1, and Cooper Kupp is going to be out week 1 for the Rams. Cooper Kupp maybe will go on IR. I'm not sure if that's the 4-week or the long term.
That
Joe
would
Burrow. Go ahead.
The season has started, so if you put a player on IR, it can be that short-term IR.
Right. So
if you put him on before the season starts, it's permanent, right, for the season. But yeah, so Kupp then could be eligible for the 4-game IR, dealing with the hamstring issue. Apparently, he's seeing a specialist for it. But he was probable in conversation. Maybe he would play this week. So my guess is that they will not put him on the short-term IR and try and see how he feels next week, and if he can play in week 2, since he's now out week 1. But obviously that Rams team is fighting from the bottom. They're not thought as a competitive team this year. And without Cooper Kupp, their chances take a
Right.
huge hit. So even this week, it's
Definitely
going to be
him not playing is a lot different team than him playing,
yes,
right? I think him and Stafford had that connection, and they won a Super Bowl that way, right? He had an incredible year,
absolutely.
the year they won the Super Bowl, but last year dealing with injuries, kind of took a step back, right? So was kind of looking forward to see him get back, but it looks like we're gonna have to wait a little longer. Joe Burrow, on the other hand, got injured, and it was a mini camp or early in the off season, and just getting back now. Do you think that'll have any impact on how he performs week 1?
Yes and no. Yes, because obviously he hasn't done anything in 3 weeks, right? So he's going to be a little rusty. No, because he's a veteran quarterback now. He knows he has connections with his guys. It's not like he's building new chemistry with a lot of his guys. This team has been good
Knows the
and is good
system,
with
yeah.
him. So it's just going to be getting back to basics. He's not going to have probably his best game, most crisp game of the season. But certainly he's going to play
Yeah.
like we expect Joe Burrow to play. That would be
But
my
you got to think it have some sort of impact, just because getting used to the speed,
sure.
Just getting
hit again.
reps, right?
He
Just
hasn't been hit
kind of
in 3 weeks.
working up to week 1 and dealing with a fresh NFL defense, right? I mean,
Absolutely.
that probably takes a little bit. I'm sure Burrow's all over it. I'm sure he's in the film room and things like that. So, I wouldn't expect him to have any bad game or anything, but I mean, might be a little slow out the gate. We'll say that.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm still starting him in my fantasy leagues that I have him in. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. All right. A little Buffalo news. Terrell Bernard starts week 1 at middle linebacker for Buffalo.
Huge.
This caught me off guard a little bit. I mean, we saw Dotson play in most of the preseason. He's been with the team the longest. You thought maybe, he was going to get the nod. But,
right.
Bills go with Terrell Bernard.
I mean, it definitely feels like, so 2 things. One, I won't take anything away from Bernard. He played very well when he was out there week 1 of the preseason and really shined in practice and in training camp. Most of the reports were that he was doing the best of the candidates for the middle linebacker position, that he flashed on the field, which is what you want to see out of a guy like that, that he had that leadership mentality that a middle linebacker needs, the one calling plays on the defense. The problem was that he got injured and then missed 3 weeks, right? And I think what happened is he won the job by default, if you will. He played very well when he was out there. Everybody was speaking highly of him. Then they got to see a lot more of one guy, Dotson, and they learned that Dotson is no better than a backup, right? And so you say, okay, we're better off going with the other guy, Terrell Bernard. And let's not forget that the Bills signed a starting middle linebacker to their practice squad,
yes.
and that he could be called up sooner rather than later, depending on how this goes. So I think there's a short leash here, but I thought it was the right move because I did not want to see Dotson out there at all. So it better to go with something that could be a very big positive rather than something you already know is pretty mediocre.
Yeah. Bill's picking up Christian Kirksey from Houston,
the Texans,
who he was a starter for Houston last year, gets hurt, didn't play a lot in the offseason, gets cut. Bills pick him up on the practice squad. So yeah, definitely iron in the fire there, I'd say.
Absolutely.
But a lot of unknowns with Terrell Bernard. He's out of Baylor. We know he's a captain. Really haven't seen him play. We know he's kind of a smaller linebacker. He's, maybe like 5 pounds above being a safety, right? So
that's true. Yes.
Yeah. So it's
got to be one of the smallest linebacker cores out there, right?
Yeah.
Matt Milano's not a very big guy, but his speed, and Matt Milano's an all pro, but Terrell Bernard going with him, not a lot of huge size out there for the Bills.
Yeah, and the game's very much more designed for a finesse type linebacker. So I'd say with Kirksey on the practice squad, coming back from injury, learning the playbook, it's Bernard's job to lose at this point. Mm-hmm. So we'll see how that plays out, but it'll be a lot of fun to watch. Other news out of Buffalo, Christian Benford gets the starting cornerback 2. That was a big position battle for them that we paid attention to.
Yes.
Late round pick, right? Starting over Kyer Elam again, who was a first round guy. So, I mean, that says a lot about him, right? Bigger cornerback. really physical cornerback. So that you like to see that. And then second round pick, Osiris Torrance gets to start at right guard. So
yeah, I think those two were a little more predicted at this point. They both had played extensively as the starter in preseason, and both kind of shined at their position, really stood out to the coaches and to those who reported on training camp and everything all the way through preseason. So those two, good on them for getting starts. Bills are pretty deep at cornerback, which feels kind of funny to say at this point because there's been a lot of years where we were waiting for that number 2 guy. But Elam, he's still there. I think he'll still play. We'll see if it's situational or if it's, a true rotation of this guy's out there one series, this guy's out there the next.
It's, you got really the Bills at cornerback 2 or even CB1, right? There's 4 guys that I'm comfortable with starting, right? If they said it was Dane Jackson who's starting, I'd be like, oh, interesting. It wouldn't shock us at this point because we've seen all these corners so many times. How many teams can do that where they can rotate 4 corners through each position at cornerback and wouldn't miss a beat necessarily?
That's a good position to be in, especially when Sean McDermott, who's a cornerback guru, is your head coach. So, yeah, expect a lot from them.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's get on to Chandler Jones blasting the Raiders on Instagram. This is just kind of a weird situation. What it sounds like, and I'll pull up the image here. What it sounds like to me is he gets locked out of the Raiders gym, team facility, has to go to a local gym, and then the team contacts his ex-girlfriend who hasn't been with him for 5 years. I just think that's, they didn't have the right phone number. Anyway, a lot of frustration there, right? Just kind of a weird situation, but it's kind of, we see this a lot with Josh McDaniels, right? We see frustration from players. We see them speak out and through social media or through the media. It just kind of leaks out there. So it's just,
there's something wrong. Yeah. I don't
wrong.
think he's a very good head coach. Let's put it that way. He's not leading that locker room in the right way. If enough guys are coming out saying stuff like this and things happening, this is a really weird situation. I don't think we have the whole story yet as to why the team would initiate something like that. But Chandler Jones is a big name guy. I mean, this is he's a core member of your defense, of the pass rush, and he's now without the team, presumably not going to play on Sunday. So that is definitely a setback for that team that's already fighting. And they have a pivotal matchup this week against the Broncos, a divisional opponent, one who they could probably contend well with at full strength. Now you lose a key piece because of some weird incident going on where you locked them out and you're not communicating in the right ways. I mean, this is rookie head coach, rookie player not communicating right type stuff. And we're talking about a guy who's been a head coach, been in the league many years, and a player who is a big time veteran. So I just don't know what the full story is here, but I feel like we're going to find out something as to why the team would initiate that against Jones. And then my guess is they contacted the girlfriend more for like a health checkup. Like, hey, we're trying to figure out where he is and he's not answering our calls. Just want to check in and make sure he's okay. I hope that's the case, because at that point you're just reaching for straws, trying to contact somebody, not truly we really need to get a hold of him. So can you tell him we called? No, I don't think that was the case in that situation. At least I hope not, because then they really screwed up.
Right. Fair point. Only 4.5 sacks for him last year. Did start 15 games. Player of that caliber, you expect more, as we have him for, right? Year before that in Arizona, 10.5 sacks, right?
Yeah, he was a big free agent. Yeah, he was a big free agent. And then, obviously things didn't work out the way the Raiders had hoped. When they got Devontae Adams, they signed Chandler Jones, and the team flopped. So that now this year it's looking a little different. Things are getting greasier. I mean, we're not sure what to expect there.
I'd say his play of the year last year is plowing over Mac Jones to run the football into the end zone.
That's right. Yeah. Play. That was one of the plays of the year. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I forget what they call that. I'm not sure if that had a name, like the football folly or something.
Yeah. Chandler Jones pancake for the touchdown.
Yeah. What a moment that was. But let's jump into the picks. If you want to catch our Kansas City game, our thoughts on that, please, reach out to our other show. We just covered that the other day. But let's jump into Sunday preview. We have the Texans at the Baltimore Ravens up first. You're picking the Texans plus 10 over Baltimore, taking the points there.
Yeah.
And I am taking Baltimore at home to win by 10.
Yeah. So, I mean, for me, this just came down to the point spread. Week 1 is chaotic, right? We talked about this a little bit. Week 1, there's always a lot that people expect that is broken, things that people are guaranteeing that don't happen, right? And anytime you see a 10, if you've been listening to the show and my picks over the years, you know I say this all the time. 10 points is a huge spread. I don't care who the team is. This is 2 NFL teams going head to head. Baltimore is the better team. I fully expect Baltimore to win. Houston has improved. You know I'm high on them. I picked them to finish second in the division. But I don't think the Texans win this game. The 10 points is just too much for me. I'll take those points all day with this Houston team against Baltimore.
Yeah, I'm taking Baltimore at home. You know, CJ Stroud getting the start for the Texans. So I think there'll be some struggles, right, as expected. Yeah, and you're going against a really good defense. Roquan Smith now had a full off season, so I love him as a player. It's a good pickup. He's very Baltimore type linebacker, so looking forward to watching him. And then this new and improved Baltimore offense, right, going to be on display, right? Bringing over drawing blanks on
Which
Odell Beckham.
Oh, Beckham. Yeah, Odell Beckham.
Yeah,
just
Beckham,
him. Scrub, no big deal.
Yeah. Been out of the league for a while though.
Yeah, so we don't know what to expect from Odell. That's fair.
Right.
That's fair.
They get Odell. They get Rashad Bateman as well. End up getting Zay Flowers.
Yes, Zay is a big for them.
Rashad Bateman, a pick 2 years ago, but expect him to have a bigger part. Yeah. Had an injury coming back, so that looks like full force for the Baltimore Ravens. So I'll take them by 10. All right, moving on to the next one here. We got Cincinnati at Cleveland. Cincinnati's -2.5 at Cleveland.
-2.5. Yeah. So in this game, I took Cincy. I know we just talked about Joe Burrow. Is he going to play 100%? Is he going to be all right? And I'm high on Cleveland's defense this year. I have them in a couple of leagues. So, I think that Cleveland's defense will do well. But for me, it just came down to Cincinnati winning by a field goal. So that was enough for me to pick Cincinnati. I just don't think Cleveland's going to have to find their groove, find their mojo. And I talked about how Joe Burrow already has that connection with his guys, and that defense as well is pretty good. So this is going to be a slobber knocker of a divisional matchup, as you would expect. A fun game to watch, but I will take Cincy -2.5 because I think they win by a field goal.
Fair, but I mean, how long have we been waiting for this Cleveland team to finally take over a game?
That's right.
Right. Time to make a statement, right? Deshaun Watson should be fully integrated by now. Bygones are bygones. This is a good opportunity for them to come out, showcase who they're going to be this season, right? And how many times has Cincinnati beat them in the last, few years? I mean, with Cleveland. All right, let's move on to the next one here. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the Minnesota Vikings. Tampa Bay is +6 at Minnesota. We are both taking the Vikings to win by 6. Your thoughts on this game?
My thoughts, I definitely picked Minnesota, but this isn't one of my best bets of the week, mainly because I'm not high on Tampa. I do not think they're going to have a very good season. I am high on Minnesota. I picked them to win the division, make the playoffs again, but they always seem to be in tight games, right? And this is one where I just hope that they're able to win by a touchdown or more. I think they can manage at least to win by a touchdown. So that's why I ended up leaning toward Minnesota.
Yeah, I like Minnesota as well. That passing game was fire last year. The offensive-minded head coach and Kirk Cousins were gelling. So I think they just continue where they left off.
Yeah, I'm very high on Addison. He's a guy I picked in a lot of my fantasy leagues. So week 1, we'll see. You're not going to expect him to get off to a rocket start, but you never know in that offense, especially with Jefferson on the other side. They're gonna have to leave somebody open.
Right, yeah, Jordan Addison, their first-round pick this year for the Vikings. We'll see what he's got, but it usually takes a while. But, I mean, as long as Justin Jefferson's there, they do have T.J. Hawkinson.
Yeah, good target.
Lots of weapons for the Vikings there. All right, we got Carolina at Atlanta. Carolina is plus 3.5 at Atlanta. We're both taking the Falcons.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this was a tough one. It could be a competitive matchup. It's a divisional game again. 3.5 is a tight line because if the Falcons win by 3 and we picked them, that's a loss, right? So I could see that coming down to it. But I think when you look at the pieces that both of these teams added in the offseason, the Falcons are just more poised to win now than Carolina is. Carolina's going to have to build it up a little bit. They're just a tad behind where the Falcons are. So I think they win probably by a touchdown.
Yeah, that's fair. Touchdown, close game. We'll see what Bryce Young has. First NFL game. Like I'm going to say about every rookie quarterback. There will be some setbacks or some learning curves. Carolina, not that good last year. 29th in total offense. Atlanta, 24th. So, I mean, I just feel like Atlanta can take that step faster. But again, it's also Desmond Ritter's first game as a quarterback as well, right? As a starter. I mean, he did start some games last year, right? So that's not correct.
Yes, he did.
But
big hype around Bijan too, right? That's what I'm looking forward to most.
Basically,
in this game.
Atlanta's run game. I think they couple that with some of this receivers like Kyle Pitts or Drake London. I think there's some weapons there. As long as Ritter doesn't make mistakes, I think they can win a few games, right? All right, let's move on to Arizona at Washington. Arizona's plus 7 at Washington. This is one of your 6 best bets of the week.
It is.
We're both taking Washington.
Yeah, I mean, this one was up there on my best bets of the week. And there's a reason why. I mean, the Arizona Cardinals are barely an NFL franchise right now. And they are making it well known that they don't want to try and win football games. Washington is a football team, literally the football team again, that is in a state of flux. We've talked about the ownership issue. We've talked about the head coach not living up to expectations. The defense, it looks really good on paper, but has not really come to fruition in the way that we thought it would, or it was expected that would. But Arizona is just that bad that I think Washington wins this game by 20 points, not by 7 points. So this was definitely up there on my best bets of the week.
Yeah, and really it's Washington's run game, right? Brian Robinson, Antonio Gibson. I mean, that's a pretty good pair there for Washington. I don't think Sam Howell doesn't have to do a lot, right?
No.
Even though he has a big arm, you don't have to do a lot. The Commanders' defensive line still,
that's going to be the
ones in the league, right?
Going up against Dobbs, a backup quarterback at best, with a weak offensive line. I mean, those guys are going to be in his face. So it's going to be a difficult day for that team.
Yeah, I agree. Plus, they're on the road, traveling across the country. So yeah, I think we're all in on Washington for that game. Next one, we got Jacksonville at Indianapolis. Jacksonville's -5 at Indianapolis. This is another best bet of the week for you. One of the top 6.
I mean, here's another one, basically copy paste on a silver platter here for me. I'm very high on Jacksonville and what their offense is capable of this year, and their defense has improved to me too. But the Colts are in shambles right now. Obviously, they don't have their best player, Jonathan Taylor. The whole situation of will he be traded? We'll see. They have a rookie quarterback. Everybody's high on this guy. That's great. He's playing in his first NFL game. I said it instead of you. But this is, it's just it's a unbalanced matchup. And for Jacksonville to only be a 5-point favorite to me is craziness. Like, again, this is another one where I think Jacksonville could win by 17 points. Even though it's a divisional matchup, it's very lopsided. And, Richardson is going to make some mistakes and throw some interceptions. He's a rookie, right, in his first game. That's against this defense, against this team. I mean, it's just lopsided. So definitely one of my big bets of the week.
Yeah, and I think Trevor Lawrence, Travis Etienne. I mean, those are some good weapons for Jacksonville. Last time we seen them, they came back 28 points. They played pretty well in the divisional round in the playoffs. So I expect them to take a jump this year. I mean, another year in the system. looks like they're going to get more and more comfortable. Again, like you said about Anthony Richardson, expect him to make a few plays here and there. But the big thing on him in the draft is he's raw, right? So expect to see some of that rawness in the first few games here. But I think that will change later in the season for him. Again, no Jonathan Taylor for the Colts, and I think that's going to have an impact as well. So, yeah, I think it's all Jacksonville. I'm taking them as well.
Yeah.
All right, first of the 4 o'clock games, we have the Las Vegas Raiders at the Denver Broncos. Las Vegas is plus 3.5 at Denver. We disagree on this one. I'm taking the Raiders, and you took the Broncos.
Well, I took the Broncos minus 3.5 before the the news that we just talked about. So, I mean, to me, it's a divisional game. These are two teams fighting to come back from the bottom of the barrel. And I just like what Denver did more in the offseason. You bring in the great coach. You bring in the guys that can make this team better. Certain guys have gotten healthy. I just think when you look up and down the rosters, I will take Russell Wilson and the Denver Broncos over Jimmy Garoppolo and that Raiders team. And again, the Broncos seem like they're trending up, going the right way, where just as we talked about the Chandler Jones news and everything, the Raiders are going the wrong way, and it's not going as well as they had hoped. So could they win? Could they make it competitive? Sure. They still have Adams as a wide receiver, who is one of the if not the guy at wide receiver. So yeah, tough call. Broncos are at home. I'll take them to win by more than 3.5, maybe a 6 or 7 point game.
Yeah, and like you said about the Raiders, I mean, you're talking about quarterbacks. I mean, will we see the same Russell Wilson? That's the questions everyone has for Denver. But with the Raiders, we know they have Josh Jacobs, right, who had a phenomenal year last year. Devontae Adams, who's still top 3, maybe top receiver in the entire league. Jimmy G doesn't have to do too much.
Yeah.
I think the system is favorable for a guy like Jimmy G. So I think early in the season, it might take the Broncos a little bit to get acclimated with the new coach, new system. Not sure about, is Jerry Jeudy healthy?
I believe he's going to play in this game. Last
too,
update I saw.
Yeah, so as long as that receiving core is healthy, I think they'll start to get on the same page later on. But for week 1, I'm taking the Raiders.
There you go.
All right, next one, we got the Tennessee Titans at the New Orleans Saints. Tennessee's plus 3 at New Orleans. We are both on the Saints for this one.
Yeah. For me, I mean, it's in New Orleans for one. That's a big advantage for them always. The Saints play very well at home. But I am more low on Tennessee. Their offense, I mean, they still have Derrick Henry. They're still going to primarily run, pass, pass, and play their game. I just think that the Saints defense is a bit underrated. They're going to be able to stop the run at times. There's no completely stopping Derrick Henry, right? When he's healthy. So I would say that New Orleans has the edge there, and 3 points for me just isn't enough because I don't trust the Titans to stay in a close game, right? And I think the Saints end up pulling away, winning by maybe 10 points in what I think will be a low scoring game. So I also picked the under in this game, but I will take the Saints.
Yeah, I think a lot of question marks with Tennessee, right? I mean, starting with quarterback. Could see this go either way, but I do like the Saints at home. I think they're one of the more balanced teams in the NFL. And add Derek Carr in there. We know Derek Carr is above average, not going to be anything flashy, but will be consistent. I think that's kind of what they're missing from last year. So I like New Orleans here early.
Healthy Michael Thomas. Yeah, there's a lot to like in that game.
All right, next game, we got the Philadelphia Eagles at the New England Patriots. Philadelphia is -4 at New England, and this is another best bet for you. You're taking Philadelphia.
Yeah, this was a tough one, but to me, Philly is they're the best team in the NFC in my mind, and they were in the Super Bowl. They stacked their defensive line. They did so well in this draft. I don't know how you could say they're not going to be very improved from last year. And again, they were in the Super Bowl, and they won their division. So going up against a New England team that is most are picking to finish last in the AFC East, rightfully so, has a lot of questions about what's going on with their quarterback, Mac Jones. Can they get over the hump? In this game, I mean, they could do their New England thing and play pretty consistent, right? They don't make mistakes. They just play blah and hope that Philly does something to make a mistake and beat themselves. I just don't see this veteran team of guys who have been there and done that making mistakes like that against New England. And that's what New England is going to be relying on. So give me Philly to win by at least a touchdown. I wouldn't be surprised if they blow them out, but Philly to win by at least a touchdown. Their run game, their passing, they still have Jalen Hurts who can beat you both ways. I just think Philly heavily outweighs the Patriots in this one.
Yeah, I agree with that. And then just one thing to add, I just don't think New England's going to have an answer for the defensive line of the Eagles, right? I feel like the Eagles are going to dominate all day. They're deep. They get fresh guys, between Fletcher Cox and Jalen Carter. Trying to think of the other
rookies.
Guy.
Nolan
Davis.
Smith. I mean,
they're just deep on the interior, and every team's going to have really struggle with that defensive line for the Eagles. So New England, I don't consider them one of the better offensive lines in the league. So, I mean, you don't have a mobile quarterback, right? That's just going to be a challenge all day. So give me the Eagles, although I do think this game will be closer than people think. I don't see it being a blowout, maybe Eagles by 7.
Okay.
Let's go LA Rams at the Seattle Seahawks. We are both taking the Seahawks. LA's plus 5.5 at Seattle. Big expectations for Seattle this year.
Absolutely. Yeah. After they far exceeded expectations last season, most people picked them to be bottom of the barrel, and they ended up in the playoffs. So very good for that Seattle Seahawks team. Geno Smith really revived his career, showed that he can be the guy and is good enough to lead a team. And that receiving core is my favorite in the NFL. I'll say that, right? Even with the rookie Jackson Smith and Jigba, who they said will play in this game, the way they're built is to win games, right? And score points and be a high-powered offense. They have a two-headed monster now at running back with Charbonnet, although we'll see how much he plays, given that they've already have an established running back. But the other side of this is the Rams, who again are descending. They're kind of trying to reset. We just talked about Cooper Kupp not being available. We don't know what Matthew Stafford is going to be capable of this season after a pretty big injury last season. Give me Seattle to win by at least a touchdown. This is one that I think could get out of hand quickly, especially without Kupp in the game.
Yeah, if Kenneth Walker can stay healthy, Seattle suddenly looks very balanced.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We know Geno Smith's really good at throwing the deep ball. You add Smith Najigba to that lineup with Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf. I mean, that's going to be a nightmare. But then you have, Kenneth Walker, who we've seen flashes from before his injury last year.
Yeah.
It's just going to be tough to defend, right? They can kind of come at you in many different ways. Agree with you with LA, kind of on the decline. I mean, with Cooper Kupp out, who do you turn to? We have reports of Matt Stafford not being able to connect with the young guys. I mean, that's a red flag, right? Which is understandable. I mean, it's a difficult thing to do, but you don't want to be hearing those type of reports, 2 weeks or 1 week from the week 1, right? So I think that just has a negative impact on the team chemistry going into week 1. So give me Seattle. And you took Seattle as well. So let's move on to the next one. Probably the best matchup of the week on Sunday, right? The Miami Dolphins traveling to LA to take on the Chargers. Miami's +3 at the Chargers. You're taking this as a best bet. You're taking Miami with the best bet, and I am going with the Chargers.
Yeah, put your money where your mouth is here. For me, I just think, yes, I love this matchup. This is going to be a fun game to watch. Miami is getting points. I expect this to be a pretty tight game throughout. I don't care if it's 1 point, 2 points, maybe even a field goal. Miami +3, I had to take the points here. That's why it's one of my best bets. But I also picked Miami to win this game. I do think they will win a tight matchup versus a team in the Chargers that is still yet to prove it. I don't know what you're going to be capable of with Herbert and all the weapons that they've had and continually had. on both sides of the ball, defense, offense. Miami's defense did get better, okay? And they were pretty good last season. They got better. Miami's offense, with those two guys at receiver, is going to be very good. Their running game is always good, right? Consistent. Tua is the big question mark for them, and I think this is week 1. We expect him to be fully healthy. We expect him to play. So if that's the case, I'm totally on Miami for this pick.
Yeah, and I think they're evenly matched. I mean, the Chargers have, their receivers are all healthy. Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, add Quentin Johnson, who first round pick last year, will probably take a little bit to get accustomed to the speed and things like that. But don't forget about Josh Palmer, who kind of flashed last year for them. I mean, they can move the ball down the field. And like you said, this might come down to a quarterback play, a 3rd and 12, whoever gets the ball last, right? I could definitely see that type of game here. And I just trust Justin Herbert more than Tua right now. So I'm taking the Chargers at home.
All right.
All right, we got the Green Bay Packers at the Chicago Bears. Green Bay's +1 at Chicago, so toss-up game.
Yeah.
And we are split. I'm taking Green Bay, and you took Chicago with Justin Fields.
Yeah, I mean, I had to take Chicago. I have them. I have Green Bay finishing last in the division, and this is one of those matchups that I think is why. Chicago came into the offseason knowing that they wanted to build around the guy that is Justin Fields, right? And Justin Fields could win with the guys around him that he had to last year. Now he's got a lot better weapons on his side. DJ Moore, another year with Kmet at tight end. The run game. I just think there's a lot of hype for Green Bay because of their name. And that's it, right? Jordan Love, I get it. He's been waiting in the wings, and now he's going to be the franchise quarterback, and he's looked good in the preseason. But he doesn't even have as much experience as Justin Fields does, okay? We've seen more of Justin Fields than we have Jordan Love, and I know what to expect from Justin Fields and expect him to keep growing and doing better. And that is why I picked Chicago. I just think their defensive line maybe is a weak point, but I think they hold their own, and their defensive backs kind of make up for that against, a quarterback who's trying to establish himself and who has, in my mind, lesser weapons than what Chicago has.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that. Like, Chicago's linebackers are much improved. It's not the same Chicago team as last year. I just don't know, outside of DJ Moore, who do you turn to, right? Still haven't seen Justin Fields as an effective passer. His legs he can win games with his legs, right? Not discounting that. But, I mean, we'll see how much of an impact DJ Moore has to their offense, but I just don't think they can keep up with what Green Bay has, right? Green Bay's offensive line is consistent, one of the better units in the league. Still, their defensive units, still one of the better units in the league. The only big change for Green Bay is just the quarterback, right? And we might have a little bit of lack of receiver depth too. We could talk about that, but they bring in Luke Musgrave, tight end out of Oregon State. Another top tight end, right? It's a big class, so I think he'll have an impact at some point. But really, Jordan Love, don't make a lot of mistakes. Run the football with A.J. Dillon, Aaron Jones. I think this is an easy win for Green Bay.
Oh, easy win. It's a close game. I mean, even the line is it's basically a pick 'em. So, all right.
Yep,
we'll see.
Yep. Liking Green Bay on that one. We got two more here. We got the Sunday night game. For week 1, we got Dallas at the New York Giants. Dallas -3 heading into New York. Again, this is not the same Giants team who lack depth. I mean, they have depth now, right? They've drafted a lot of offensive linemen. Yes. They've drafted a lot of defensive pass rushers. I mean, now they're not rookies anymore, right? So it's time to – this team's in a different level, right? But I'm taking Dallas. You took the Giants. Go ahead.
I think Dallas gets all the hype and too much of it, right? Dallas is good. Don't get me wrong. Micah Parsons, one of the best defensive players in the league. He deserves it. But their defense is primarily like a make a splash play or nothing, basically. Give up a lot of points still. The Giants' offense is so far improved. Now, they exceeded expectations last year as well. But you bring in receivers for your quarterback. You beef up your offensive line. You get Saquon back, right? So, I mean, this is a team that is stacked on offense, and I don't think people expect that right now from the Giants. They're kind of very underrated at this point, in my mind. this is going to be a tight matchup. It's going to be a very fun matchup in my mind. It always is in the division, the NFC East, right? But the Cowboys, to me, I'm more questioning what will they do on offense. You know, I already mentioned I'm not as high on their defense as many are, but their offense to me has questions that I don't think are going to, outweigh how much I like the improvement of the Giants offense. So give me a close game, but I will definitely take the Giants with the points +3.
Okay, I'm going Dallas. Just it's a new offense for them. Mike McCarthy will be calling plays. And again, they balance, but I really think it's going to be tough for the Giants to see. It's new, right? It's going to be a new style. They bring over Brandon Cooks, who I think can make a few plays for them. Getting older, maybe lost a step here and there, but very experienced receiver. Still have CeeDee Lamb, Tony Pollard. I like what Dallas can do on offense, but more their defense, I think, can go toe to toe. Giants, I don't think are going to even try to dial up a 4-touchdown game, right? They're trying to beat you with, precision passing, run the ball. We're going to score 17 points and get the win, right? But I think Dallas is more equipped to
don't write
to
him
score
off
points
though.
with
Darren
Dak.
Waller, I mean, he's probably going to be one of
Sure.
their primary guys. Their receiving core is better. I'm telling you, man. They might do exactly what you said they wouldn't and air it out in this game. I mean, you're going to see a lot of Saquon too, don't get me wrong, but they are not going to be afraid to throw it. And they're also not afraid to. This is a Brian Daboll-led offense. You're going to see intensity in game one. You're going to see the cards on the table in game one from Brian Daboll, because he knows that this is a big, meaningful game against a divisional opponent who is most are picking to finish above you. So use that as motivation. And we saw what Daboll could do with this team last year. So again, give me the edge versus Dallas, who always gets the hype, the pressure, and then fails to live up to it. So
right. Yeah, but I think you can make that argument for both sides. Dallas, the pressure's on too, right? Hey, Dak, are you the guy? Like we paid you, keep losing these playoff games. Like we think the Giants and the Eagles are going to finish ahead of you. Maybe the Commanders. I think Dallas is going to respond to being the underdog this year.
We'll see.
All right, and the Monday night football game on 9/11 going to be a good one. Josh Allen versus Aaron Rodgers. The Bills are at the Jets. Buffalo is -2.5 at the Jets. This is a best bet.
Yeah.
One of the top 6, and we were both picking Buffalo.
Shocker, right? Yeah, we're both Bills fans picking Buffalo. But I think the shocker here for me is the line, right? Okay, Buffalo defending divisional champions. We know who they are up and down that roster. We both have spoken about how we thought this team got better on both sides of the ball. And they're only a 2.5-point favorite at the Jets. Why? Because of Aaron Rodgers, who's coming off his worst career season ever, who's 59 years old,
39.
He's getting old. And the point is, there's been a lot of disrespect heaved at the Bills in this offseason, a lot of disrespect and way too much praise given to the Jets. Do they have a good defense? Yes. Do they have the pieces in place on that D line to be dominant for a whole season and improve again? Yes. Do they have a guy like Sauce Gardner who should be getting flagged a lot more than he has been? Yes, but he's great, right? So I just think this Bills offense is underrated, right? We improved on so many sides of the ball. The run game is better. The quick pass game is better, which is going to be important against a D line that can come after Josh Allen. The 2 tight end sets we're going to see from Buffalo with Dalton Kincaid are going to be big against a good defensive line. I just think, again, I cannot emphasize enough how disrespectful it is for Buffalo to be less than a 3-point, at least make the line 3. 3 is the baseline, right? Because it's 2.5, you're saying the Bills can't win by a field goal? I think they win by 10 points, at least. So, I mean, to me, that's just disrespectful. And the Bills are going to come out and use that as motivation and just do their thing.
Sure. And kind of agree with you. I mean, the Jets are a respectable team, right? Garrett Wilson, obviously Sauce Gardner, that defensive line. I mean, we can go on and on. They're a really good team, right? But let's not forget, they lost 2 of the last 10 games last season, losing the last 6. obviously that's the quarterback issue, right? But usually a good team will carry the quarterback a little bit. We saw Mike White, who played pretty decent, right?
Mm-hmm.
Still had trouble getting the win there.
Yeah, and the big matchup here, right? The Jets have a loaded run game now,
Sure.
right? They brought in Dalvin Cook. They got Brees Hall. We don't know how much he's going to play in this first game. Michael Carter. The Bills' defensive line is probably the most improved thing of the offseason. That is not spoken about enough, right? So you got guys who are going to be improved there. It's going to be a tough matchup. Don't get me wrong. That's their strength versus what was our weakness in the past. But again, it's disrespectful. It's disrespectful.
Yeah,
Minus 2.5.
yeah. I think the Jets got the hype, right? Aaron Rodgers in New York City, that's going to get fans pumped. 9/11, they'll have it'll be a tough environment for the Bills, but the Bills' continuity is unmatched, right? This team's been together. They're the same core guys for what are we going on now? 5-6 years. You can make arguments for maybe 7 in some cases, but you get Micah Hyde back. The whole secondary is healthy. Trey White's back. I just think the continuity the Bills have versus the Jets, who are kind of mixing systems a little bit, right? It's a new offense for Garrett Wilson. It's a new offense for, Brees Hall, Dalvin Cook, right? I just think
too many unknowns, too many uncertainties with the Jets.
It's going to take a minute for them to gel, right?
Yes.
I think they will be a good team, but you're not going to see those results till
fully agree.
Few weeks
we talked about this in the offseason, right? The fact that the Bills get the Jets week 1 is an advantage to the Bills because the Jets have not had that time to build chemistry around Aaron Rodgers and that entire new offense. So, give me the Bills all day.
Yep, I'll take the Bills as well. And that's our week 1 picks. All right, we are off and running, right? So let's tune in with us next Tuesday. The podcast drops. If you want to tune in live, we'll be live Monday night. Jump in, check it out. We'll have our recap from Sunday, and we'll talk about all things NFL, all things Bills, and then rolling into week 2. You can check us out live on Wednesday. Podcast drops on Thursday. So new podcasts every Tuesday and Thursday. Check us out all season, and we'll talk to you next week. Anthony,
thanks for kicking it with us.